Hey, lonely. Also, it is day 3 of sleep deprivation project. What's up? It's the culture detective here investigating your favorite movies. And today I'm going to do a review on Suspiria. Hey, lonely. Also, it is Day 3 of Sleep Deprivation Project. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to do a review on Suspiria. So, Suspiria is, I'm talking about the original one. It is a movie written and directed by Italian film director Dario Argento, and it is released in the year 1977. The movie is about a girl by the name of Susie Banyan who went from New York to Berlin, Germany, a very to a very famous ballet academy in Berlin, Germany. And then weird shit started to happen. And there's witchcraft, there's a lot of scary stuff. And that is basically Suspiria in a nutshell. First of all, let's talk about the pros. I think the premise is fantastic. I really love it when movies don't just show, oh my god, monsters, oh my god, murderers, oh my god, this and that, this and that. This movie is so much more non straightforward. It's so much more, I don't know what would be the word. So much more abstract than I guess other 70 horror movies would be. And I just really love the premise. Of course, the cinematography is easily the best aspect of this entire movie. This movie became a bit of a horror classic because of its very stylish cinematography, the very beautiful color combinations, the light green, the very thick pink and magenta, the very spacey dark blue. The whole thing is one colorful, fantastical nightmare. And of course, we have the music, we have the soundtrack, which is apparently composed by a band called Goblin, and it is a really good soundtrack. It actually sounds great. It sounds chilling, it sounds demonic, it sounds possessed, it's pretty scary. I also enjoy the first death scene. I think it's very gory and very fun. Like many other European horror films, this one is so much more artistic and abstract and flamboyant and also violent than many other contemporary American horror films that are usually kind of surface levels. And I also kind of like the third act of this movie. There's one particular scene which is kind of similar to the "Here's Johnny" scene in The Shining, except The Shining actually came out 3 years after Suspiria. And even though I must admit The Shining did that scene better, still, this scene in Suspiria, I enjoyed it. And I think the ending is satisfying, even though it wasn't really that great, in my opinion. What I also love about this movie is that there are a lot of eccentric characters that act in a certain way. It's just really weird, and I love it when there are these eccentric side characters that just sort of take over the shot or the scene, seemingly out of nowhere. It's I like that. But unfortunately, even though this movie has a sick premise and awesome cinematography, this movie is also really lacking, in my opinion. Kind of underwhelming as well. First of all, the story is just not that well written. I think the premise and the idea is fantastic, but there are all these incidents in the first and second acts, and they don't connect with one another. They just don't build tension at all. It doesn't really get all that disturbing or scary or creepy until the third act, and even by then, it still doesn't seem that important of a story. I still didn't care about the main character as much as I would have liked it to. There's this character in the beginning called Olga, and I thought she would come back, but nope, she seemed important at first, and then she just kind of disappeared. Of course, let's get the obvious out of the way. The sound of this movie, it's bad. It's bad. I when I watched this movie, I was like, hold up, am I watching the right version of this movie? Because it sounds crappy. It's the noise. It's mixed so grainy and terribly. The dialogue sounds are mixed so low, and then the soundtrack is mixed so loud. I can barely hear anything at a few points. And then the soundtrack, even though I enjoy the soundtrack, there are moments where it would have been better if it's quiet, but no, it's just gonna blast scary, spooky music all over it. And worst of all, they, for some reason, decided to make a dub, make a voiceover for the entire movie. And yeah, it's pointless because they're literally voicing over themselves and with the same language that they're speaking when shooting the film. So it's pointless and it just doesn't sound as genuine. And it definitely took away a level of enjoyment in this movie. This movie is also, at a few aspects, it's kind of money saving. It's kind of cheap. Like most of the sets in this film, if not all of the sets, are all built in studios, obviously. Even the streets, it's very clearly just a bunch of cardboards. But I actually kind of like that aspect because it makes the story even more weird and off-kiltered and strange and unsettling, and I really like that. But there are also lots of scenes where there's blood, and these blood, it's not very real. They look like pink paint. Uh, And there are some death scenes that are just comical. They don't make any sense at all. They drag on for too long. It looks kind of sloppy. And I think another mistake that this film has made is exposition, where we don't know what the hell's going on until the second act is over. And this random character who had not appeared in the movie at all suddenly showed up and explained the whole situation. Oh, there's this 1,000 years ago, there's this woman who's like a witch, and she moved to Berlin, and then this happened, and that happened, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. Which is a little lame. You know, I'm not really a huge exposition enjoyer. I guess another thing that I dislike about the film is actually the very ending. The build up to the ending is fantastic. It is way scarier than I thought it would be, but the actual climax of the movie, a little questionable. A little questionable. Like you could really see the antagonist going, "Oh, I hate the American girl," you're referring to the main character. "I want her to die, die, die." And it's just really cheesy. And then afterwards, there's the ultimate villain who seems to be very powerful, but nope, she's actually not that powerful. But still, I understand why this movie had gained classic status. I love the premise. Again, the idea of this movie is amazing, and I'm so glad that Luca Guadagnino decided to remake this movie in his own style and sort of improve upon this movie. Again, the music and the cinematography is great. The acting is not so good, admittedly. But there are a few pretty good scenes here and there, I guess. But overall, I think it's a good film, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's great. Um, yeah, just gonna leave it at that. I'm giving Dario Argento's Suspiria a strong 7 out of 10. So, have you watched Suspiria? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. The next movie I'm gonna review is Minari, Lee Isaac Chung, Minari. And then afterwards, maybe I'll watch Edward Young's Yi and Tarantino's Kill Bill. Haven't watched that actually, and I kind of want to watch some Kill Bill. Just